Good afternoon. The plenary open session of the 463rd meeting of the National Science Board is reconvening. I welcome Foundation staff, guests, and members of the public. I would like to begin by offering the board's deepest condolences to the family, friends, and colleagues of Dr. Tyrone Mitchell, who passed away in June. Dr. Mitchell was a longtime NSF employee serving as program director in the chemistry and graduate education divisions. His contributions were many, and his absence will be keenly felt. I will now turn to recognizing the accomplishments of some of our colleagues. Our director, Dr. Franz Cordova, was honored by the Thayer School of Engineering at Dartmouth University with the Robert Fletcher Award. The award is presented in recognition of distinguished scientific achievement and service in the highest tradition of the school. Franz also presented the keynote address at the school's investiture ceremony. Congratulations, Franz. Dr. Anila Sargent was awarded the 2019 Carl Jansky Lectureship by Associated Universities Incorporated, AUI, and the National Radio Astronomy Observatory. The Jansky Lectureship was created by AUI to recognize outstanding contributions to the advancement of radio astronomy. Anila is being honored for her pioneering and continuing studies of young stars and the dusky disks that surround them, disks from which planets form. As Jansky lecturer, Sargent will give lectures at NRAO facilities in Charlottesville, Virginia, and in Socorro, New Mexico. These lectures are open to the public. Congratulations, Anila. Dr. Maria Zuber has been awarded the Gerald Kuiper Prize by the Division of Planetary Sciences of the American Astronomical Society for outstanding contributions to the field of planetary sciences. Maria is recognized for her contributions to advancements in geophysics, planetary gravity mapping, and laser altimetry. Congratulations, Maria. As most of you know, we have two colleagues who have assumed new leadership posts since our last meeting. Dr. John Anderson is the new president of the National Academy of Engineering, and Dr. Suresh Garamella is the new president of the University of Vermont. Congratulations to you both, and all the best in your positions. I would also like to extend a special thank you to Dr. James Carosa, who is attending his last board meeting before completing his tenure as the Assistant Director for the Directorate of Computer and Information Sciences and Engineering. Jim has been a frequent participant in our proceedings and always brings a wealth of knowledge and passion for his work of the agency and to bear on these issues in this current day. Thank you, Jim, and we wish you all the best for your future endeavors. We also have a number of changes in the board office. We're delighted to announce that Dr. Reba Bandapadai has joined the ranks of permanent full staff employees on our staff. She has been an integral part of the board office for over 3 years, beginning as a AAAS fellow, and we're very happy to have her here for the long haul. Ms. Faith Hickson is also joining the office after completing a detail from the Office of the General Counsel. She will be working with our legal counsel, Ann Bushmiller, and Administrative Director, Kathy Jackart. On the farewell side of our ledger, we are losing two of our AAAS fellows. Dr. Christina Moranto left at the end of June for a new position at DARPA, at DOD, and Dr. Mateo Munoz will be leaving in September for an exciting new position at Colorado College as the Assistant Vice Provost. Thank you both for your great work and your tremendous contributions to the board. The board office will also be saying farewell to a longtime colleague, Kim Silverman, after this meeting. Fortunately, she will only just be across the hall, as she is joining the director's staff.
Let's take one of hers.
That's a good idea. Kim, thank you for your full decade of service to the board and your continued contributions to the foundation in your new role. Earlier this morning in executive session, the Committee on Nominations completed its work in delivering a slate of candidates for the board class of 2026. These names will be submitted to the White House for its consideration when it makes appointments for the new class to be seated in May 2020. I say all this as a preface to offering my public thanks to Committee Chair Bud Peterson and his fellow committee members Ellen Ochoa, Suresh Garamella, Emilio Moran, and Artie Bienenstock, together with the work of Executive Secretary, Executive Director Brad Gutierrez, for their diligent and thoughtful deliberations in creating a select list from a truly extraordinary group of almost 50 nominees. So those ends my announcements for now. We need to quickly approve the minutes from the prior May plenary session. These are available in the board book. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, they stand approved. So at this time, I would like to turn to Dr. Cordova to ask her if she has remarks.
Okay, thank you very much, Diane. NSF also congratulates NSB awardees Anila Sargent and Maria Zuber on their distinguished awards, and congratulates board members John Anderson and Suresh Garamella, who have ascended to various presidencies. In your board book, Amanda Greenwell has provided you with an information item on legislative and public affairs activities since the May board meeting. During this period, OPA began the Brought to You by NSF campaign, which I highlighted yesterday, along with some of the other items in the OPA update. Does anyone have any questions about the update in your board book? Okay, I'd now like to introduce you to two individuals who have been appointed to senior appointments at the foundation since the May board meeting. Ms. Peggy Gardner, who unfortunately cannot be present because she's at a meeting in the district, but let me just tell you that she began serving her SES Career Senior Executive Service appointment as Division Director in the Division of Administrative Services, what we call DAS, or DAS, within the Office of Information and Resource Management on June 9th, and she's been at the foundation since the year 2000. So we congratulate Peggy on that appointment. Javier Inclán, is Javier with us? Yes, there he is. Will be reassigned to the position of Deputy Office Head of the Office of Information and Resource Management effective August 4th. So he is going to be Wanzi Gardner's deputy. Mr. Inclán joined the foundation in November 2016 as Deputy Division Director of DAS. In 2018, he served as acting Division Director of DAS, and in 2019, he was appointed as acting Division Director of the Division of Human Resource Management. And we just want to congratulate and thank Javier because he has helped us with many, many things, including leading our human resource management during a very trying time during our shutdown and all. So congratulations to you, Javier. And that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cordova. We now turn to the open committee reports. As these sessions were held in the presence of the full board, please do just provide the highlights. So we'll begin with the Committee on the National Science and Engineering Policy. Dr. Phillips reporting.
Thank you, Diane. In our session yesterday, we reviewed recent progress and milestones towards the release of the indicators thematic reports, as well as discussing the statutory deliverable for Science and Engineering Indicators 2020, the so-called summary report. Bathika Khan described to us the outline for the summary report, which will be titled The State of U.S. Science and Engineering, and we asked for any last comments major comments that the board members might have on that outline. In the subsequent discussion of the summary report outline and format, we heard from you that this report will be most useful if it includes the data on the questions that you most often get, particularly from members of Congress and various agencies within the executive branch. This includes information on trends in basic research across countries and sectors. We also heard loud and clear your caution that the summary report not be limited in content by the format of the report or being overly constrained on the report length, although we clearly will be making it short. You made good suggestions about looking ahead to plan the dissemination of the report, including how the web can enable this and what different audiences we may want to target as we shape the outreach materials. I described to you some of the recent meetings where staff members have presented to our stakeholders information on the changes to indicators for this edition, as well as upcoming meetings, including this afternoon's visit to the Office of Science and Technology Policy. As a final note, I will just remind you that all the draft reports are available in your board book for your reference and review, and I also encourage you as soon as possible, but no later than the middle of next week, please review and approve the third thematic report, which was sent to you just before the beginning of this meeting. We've already gotten some votes in, and we would like to conclude that vote in as quickly as possible. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Phillips. We turn to the Committee on Oversight. Dr. Sargent reporting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The NSF Office of Integrative Activities staff presented an update on progress towards modernization of the Merit Review Report. In particular, they described details of the planned 2018 MRR and on development of the first module for the anticipated website that will eventually provide online access to merit review data. Since this is a joint effort between the board and OIA, board members will soon be asked to review the 2017 report carefully and provide input on the adequacy of the content, particularly of the tables, before the end of August. The Committee on Oversight will then work with OIA to assist in preparing the 2018 report for board consideration at the November meeting. In her presentation, Chief Financial Officer Teresa Grankovich highlighted how the Foundation used its strategic review process to inform and monitor processes used in upgrading the MRR. She also noted that the Office of Management and Budget has conducted a government-wide customer satisfaction survey, and that preliminary results suggest that NSF will be ranked at or near the top in multiple service areas. And Inspector General Alison Lerner updated the board on activities in the Office of the Inspector General. She also described an innovative analytics tool that the OIG developed in-house. This will mine text and is saving them a lot of staff time. It seemed indeed that other people might want to copy it. So with that, Madam Chair, my report ends.
Thank you, Dr. Sargent. We turn to the Committee on Awards and Facilities. Dr. Lineberger reporting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. During our open session, ANF heard a presentation from the Chief Officer for Research Facilities, Dr. Jim Olvestad, about the evolution of NSF cost oversight process. The committee is comfortable with the no-cost overrun policy as it is applied in practice and endorses the plan to add clarifying language about how unpredictable risks are handled. Full details of our discussions will be in the minutes. This concludes our report.
Thank you, Dr. Lineberger. We turn to the Committee on External Engagement. Dr. Jackson reporting. Oh. That's an error in my notes because we didn't meet in the session. That's going to be a meeting by teleconference. So thank you.
I'm really glad to hear that.
You did look perturbed.
You missed it.
Your explanation was complete and thorough.
We will turn instead to the Committee on Strategy. Dr. Beachy reporting.
Thank you. The Committee on Strategy received an update of the FY 2019 current plan, budget plan, and on the FY 2020 appropriations actions by Congress. We then heard 3 reports that had been discussed and hoped for, and they were all excellent. From Dr. Skip Lupia, the AD for the SBE Directorate, presented an outline of SBE's research priorities, which underscored the transformational research funded by this directorate, something that has been missing for a bit. The committee also heard informative presentations by Jim Caros on NSF partnerships and Rebecca Kaiser, Spike, on the Multipliers program. Their work to date and the future of these important activities and leveraging resources to pursue fundamental research is pointed out. And with regard to the most recent work of the additional work by the committee, there was a report out from the task force on Vision 2030. The session was an update on the progress of the vision to date and immediate next steps for the retreat, and to remind all board members that calls will be scheduled shortly. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Beachy. So we now turn to the task force on the skilled technical workforce. Dr. McCreary reporting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Task Force on the Skilled Technical Workforce met yesterday to discuss the final report, The Skilled Technical Workforce, Crafting America's Science and Engineering Enterprise. The task force voted to forward this report to the full board for approval. We also heard about planned rollout activities for the report. As we're on a tight timeline to produce this glossy report, we would appreciate all the board, you're kindly emailing the staff, that's Elise, Reba, or Mateo, any specific line edits or additional lines that you want in the report by the close of business Friday, which is tomorrow. Additional details of our meeting will be in the minutes. This concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. McCreary. So now we'll move forward on the votes, waiting for full board actions. We're going to turn back to Vic in just a second. But the first vote we need to make is on the final report for the Skilled Technical Workforce Task Force. As we all know, this is a report that's been in development for several months, and the findings and recommendations contained therein are of great importance to the committees on the Hill and the offices in the administration working on workforce apprenticeship issues. I want to thank the members of the task force, Chair Vic McCreary and members Vicki Chandler, Bob Groves, James Jackson, Carl Lineberger, and Jerry Richmond for their devoted service to this important effort over the past 18 months. A special debt of gratitude is also owed to the board office staff team supporting the task force, Elise Lipkowitz, Reba Bandapadai, Mateus Munoz, Christina Maranto, John Vasey, and before his detail to OSTP, Matt Wilson. The long hours invested in this report by this group and the product that has come from that effort is above and beyond the call of duty. Thank you all. I'd like to ask Vic whether there's any, go ahead. You can congratulate him. Yes, that's good. Is there anything that you'd like to add before we move to the vote?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would also like to thank the members of the task force and the board for an engaging discussion yesterday during the STW session. I also want to thank the staff that really helped, and also for keeping us in line and out of trouble. I want to give a shout out to Ann Bushmiller. Thank you very much for all you did. I also want to give a special shout out to Dr. Celeste Carter. Celeste's inputs and insights have been invaluable throughout the life of the task force. As a longtime program director of NSF's Advanced Technological Educational Program, she has served as a content expert and enthusiastic supporter of this important work. Just as a reminder, there are 4 top-level recommendations: change the message, focus on the data, leverage the portfolio of federal investments, and build partnerships to devise tailored approaches for local communities. And before I go into questions, I just also want to give a hand to Dr. Celeste Carter for all your work you've done in the ATA. Are there any questions or comments based on what you've heard?
Yeah, you got a few comments yesterday, and so you're just going to include, we're approving it.
Yeah, particularly like the.
I think we'd approve it subject to final edits where those are.
Final edits, yeah.
Yes.
Particularly the BHEF comment.
Do we have a motion to approve this report, subject to final edits where these will all be submitted before tomorrow? Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion passes and the report is approved. As Vic stated, the planned release for the glossy version of the report is mid-August. With the approval of the final report, I would like again to thank this task force and the board office team. This has been really well done from start to finish, so thank you. We have one. We have one more vote. The vote is on the draft calendar for the 2020 NSB meeting schedule. These list of dates, they're in your board books. Hopefully you've all had a chance to look at them. You'll notice that we have asked you to save 2 dates for the late fall meeting. This is in order to offer some voice to the new members who will be joining, hopefully, next May. So there is a note next, there's also a note next to the proposed February meeting that highlights the fact that there will be a celebration on February 6th, the day following the dates of the board meeting, the 4th and the 5th, and asking you to reserve this extra day, which will be part of the 70th anniversary celebration for NSF. And also to mark the last board meeting for France as her term as director expires in May 2020. You all received a note in the listserv from France about this, so please make sure you take time this week, if you can, to look at your calendars and block this off for the February meeting if possible. France and I just very much both hope that you will attend these events. Is there a motion to approve the schedule?
Just that it is FY 20, I think it's 2020 NSB calendar.
Excuse me?
It says 2019, it is 2020 NSB calendar, I think.
Ooh. We need to edit the calendar so that it reads, so as edited to read 2020 instead of 2019. Is there a motion to approve? A second. Any further discussion?
Are the dates of November 16 and 17 correct? Because that's a Monday and a Tuesday.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
It would be unusual, but that's unusually, that it happened that way as we polled people, that those dates we got substantially more people than the next 2 dates. So, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. The motion passes. So now we move to the pièce de résistance for this open plenary. We have a presentation by the Office of Integrative Activities on the National Academy's Reproducibility and Replicability Report. I'd remind everyone that the director and I will need to reply to Congress with our assessments on the recommendations in this report. So we're very pleased to have Susie Iacona and Dragana, I can't do this correctly, Berzakovic, did I get it closer right?
You did right, and I responded, so.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. You're very kind. From OIA to give us a presentation on the report and on NSF's reaction to it. Susie?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Dragana Brašković. She's a senior staff associate at OIA, and she'll be giving the presentation today. I want to start by setting just a bit of context. In the American Innovation and Competitiveness Act of 2017, Congress called for NSF to fund a National Academy study on reproducibility and replicability in science. The stated purpose is to improve the rigor and reproducibility of federally funded research. The AICA, as Madam Chair just said, also directed NSF and the National Science Board, the director and the chair, to provide Congress with a response to that report. And that is what Dragana and her team have been working on. The study report was released in early May. I hope you all have a chance to look at it or have looked at it. And we expect the response to be ready by late summer. But before I turn it over to Dragana, I just want to make 2 very important points. The National Academies took this study very seriously. They brought to bear 12 of their boards and/or committee staff members to contribute to this study and to work with it over the 2 years that it's been in development. And they did this across the 3 academies, science, engineering, and medicine. And so we know that they really wanted or intend to have a very broad impact with this study. And secondly, this report has an important role to play in the new administration initiative that you heard about this morning from Kelvin on the research environment. As he said, they have established a new joint committee, JCOR, and the director is a co-chair with Kelvin and others of that committee. He also mentioned 4 subcommittees, and each of those is co-chaired by a member of NSF. And so the agency is taking this very, very seriously. We're deeply implicated in this cross-agency effort to improve the research environment. And now I'd like to turn it over to Dragana.
Thank you, Susie. I appreciate the opportunity to brief the board on this recent Academy report and the steps that NSF is undertaking in responding to the report. I'm going to add a comment that I didn't prepare, but I'm very happy to be in this room right now. I was stuck outside during this fire, so I was not sure I'll make it here. For the purpose of this study, the National Academy engaged staff across many of the boards to convene a committee consisting of 15 distinguished members with very different disciplinary expertise. The committee was chaired by Harvey Feinberg, president of the Moore Foundation. During the investigative stage, the committee held 5 open sessions where over 50 researchers, representatives of professional societies, academia, journal publishers, and media reporters provided diverse perspectives on the issues of reproducibility and replicability. These open sessions were a meticulous process of information collection from a range of stakeholders in scientific enterprise. I can vouch for that personally because I attended all 5 sessions and found the presentations from the stakeholders and even more committee questions and comments very informative. At the first open meeting, the committee received the formal charge, which included defining key terms, reproducibility and replicability. In addition, committee was asked to take into account diversity and fields of science and engineering and examine the impact reproducibility and replicability have on health, both of real and perceived contemporary science. Most importantly, the committee was asked to make recommendations how to improve rigor and transparency in research. As charged, the first task the committee undertook was to reconcile varied usages and sometimes contradictory usage of terms reproducibility and replicability across the diversity of disciplines. In short, for the purpose for this study, the committee defined reproducibility to be synonymous with computational reproducibility, and it means obtaining consistent results using the same data, same computational steps, and conditions of analysis. In contrast, replicability means obtaining consistent results across studies aimed at answering the same scientific questions, but each of these studies using their own data and somewhat different methods. This is a very comprehensive and thoughtful report, providing advice to all stakeholders in scientific enterprise. Truly, this is a blueprint for progress in and developing awareness at all levels, from researchers to general public. In view of allotted time for this presentation, I will only briefly focus on a few high-level findings before I discuss recommendations for NSF. The report states that despite the fact that the term replication crisis has been used both in academic settings and in the mainstream media, there is no reliable data to confirm the existence of such a crisis. However, there is opportunity for improvement. The report discusses various pathways by which scientists confirm the validity of their discoveries. Reproducibility and replicability are useful ways to increase confidence in scientific results, but do not guarantee that the results of a study are correct. There are other ways to gain confidence in scientific results and knowledge. For example, research synthesis, meta-analysis. The report emphasizes that there are opportunities for all stakeholders to ensure that the research is more rigorous, thoughtful, and dependable. Regarding the issue of public trust, which prompted the study, the report finds that public continues to trust the scientific community. This finding is backed by NCS's biannual science and engineering indicators that you are all very familiar with. And one of the things that they do is track public confidence in the range of institutions. The indicators show that the trust in science has remained stable. This will be the blue curve on this graph. In contrast to other institutions, most of which have shown significant declines in public confidence over the past decades. For example, press, which is the green curve. There are others here to look at. The only institution that has eclipsed science in recent years is military, and this is the red curve. And you can look at the periods where the red curve
spikes.
It spikes. The report provides recommendations to all stakeholders in scientific enterprise. For NSF, it provides 8 recommendations. Report encourages NSF to consider a range of investments to strengthen research practices. It calls for investments in research that explores the limits of computational reproducibility in instances in which bitwise reproducibility is not reasonable. The report also calls for investments to promote computational reproducibility across NSF's programs in view of widespread usage of computation and data. Furthermore, the report underlines the importance of investments in the research and development of open source tools and infrastructure that supports reproducibility for a broad range of studies. Finally, the report encourages NSF to invest in training researchers on best practices and use of these tools. This need is becoming pressing as computing is becoming omnipresent in science and engineering, and the training of scientists in best computational research practices has not kept pace with this expansion. In addition to targeted investments, the report recommends that NSF facilitates sharing through archives and repositories by developing criteria for trusted open repositories and by harmonizing these criteria with other funding agencies. The report advises all funders, including NSF, to invest in replication studies by considering a variety of criteria, including importance of results for possible action, for example, policy decisions, cost of replication versus potential value of reaffirming the results, and scientific controversy about the topic. The last recommendation for NSF is to integrate concepts of reproducibility and replicability into the review process and proposal writing. As Susie already mentioned, NSF is required to respond to Congress. So upon receiving the report, NSF has appointed a task force to study the report and draft the response. The task force is comprised of representatives from all directorates, and the process started by inventorying actions and practices across NSF. The next step involves identifying gaps and opportunities for strengthening practices. As we are working on this step, we are finding a lot of agreement between the study recommendations and actions that NSF has undertaken within the past few years, as well as some of the actions that we are contemplating in the very near time. Responses will incorporate NSF's current practices and future steps to further ensure continued improvements in fast-changing landscape of science. Currently, this is work in progress. We are iterating between these three steps. And once draft is completed, it will undergo review by senior management, to be followed by report finalization in coordination with the director and the NSB chair, and finally delivery to Congress. At this point, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do people have questions for Dragana on this issue of reproducibility and replicability? Yes, Dr. Anderson.
I'm looking at the report. I just downloaded it, and it says that 2 members of the committee, both professors of psychology, resigned. Is there a reason for the resignation?
As you know, we were the funders, so we were kept at a distance from the internal developments. But I believe one of them was a professor of statistics, and the other, I think, was psychologist. And
It said both of them were professors of psychology, could be statistics.
Yeah, but it could be broader than that. I'm not sure of the titles. But frankly, I can't answer that question because this is something that we have not been advised by the academy staff. Typically, they try to keep a distance between the committee and the funder.
Right, so let me just add to that. I mean, I don't have any more information either on that, but this is actually a rule that we follow to maintain their independence. And so once the study commences, we only have a midterm interaction with them on the direction of the study, and then we get the final study. As Dragana said, she went to all of the meetings, and so I'm imagining that you were seeing that some people weren't there, but the study director doesn't chair any of the internal ramifications with us.
I think I know another way to get the answer, so I'll pursue that.
So, yes, please let us know.
Other questions or comments on the report or the process? Artie.
I'm afraid I haven't read the report, so I have often non-replicability represents a scientific opportunity rather than a mistake on the part of the scientist, because it indicates there's a hidden variable that hasn't been taken into account. Does the report indicate that in any way?
I think the report is excellent in trying to describe how science works, be it computational aspects or any experimental aspects. So in many ways, they address that. And I think what is great about that report is that people around this table know a lot about this topic. You haven't read the report, but you know a lot about this topic. But general public doesn't. So they don't understand that sometimes this is key to finding much more exciting things. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much, both Susie and Dragana.
Thank you very much.
So we're coming to the end of this meeting. I want to thank everyone for making this a productive and informative meeting. We do have quite a stretch now between now and our next formal meeting. That's not till November. However, no sleep for the weary. We have a lot of work that's going to be ramping up for the Vision Project. As Roger said in his closing remarks, we'll be touching base regularly. You'll be seeing emails and having phone calls as we move the vision work forward. So please stay tuned. We also have our annual retreat in September. It's the 17th and the 18th, with an opportunity for a site visit or two, maybe for those people who can arrive early in the afternoon on the 16th. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that the retreat planning committee, Maureen, Bud, and I working with Lynn and Anne and John, have been sort of iterating. At least we have had 3 meetings so far, trying to structure what might that look like, including the site visits. So we're very excited to create an event that will be fun, with networking, as well as some disruptive thinking, hopefully, and most importantly, make sure that what Roger had identified, that the visioning process continues to evolve in the retreat format also. With regards to site visits, we looked at a number of possibilities. Of that, we have zeroed in on 2 of them. I thought I'd let let the members know that the NEON headquarters, which is located there, as well as 2 sites, field sites that are there, which is a NIWAT and the CPER, are possibilities for us. I mean, it may not, the field sites only take about 5 or 6 people, maybe. So we have to think through that a little bit. So we're working on it. And the other one being at the end of the retreat, we'll have the National Solar Observatory as another site to visit. So these 2 seemed like exciting places for us to engage ourselves in. So just thought I'll give you a preview, and we'll be engaging more with the board as we finalize the.
So hopefully with Pancha's remarks, you're tempted and you'll try to get there early on Monday, the 16th, and stay into the afternoon on the 18th so that you can take advantage of being in Boulder and be able to see some NSF sites. So this is an important thing. So please put this on your calendar, and please work on your travel arrangements sooner rather than later. Is there any other business that we need to address before we adjourn? Hearing none, I now adjourn the 463rd meeting of the National Science Board. Thank you, everyone.